Hey guys, welcome back friends, new and old. My name is Elise and this is 10 to Life. OMG, the case we're talking about today, guys, is bananas. There is endless amounts of money, sex, modeling, luxury, craziness, sex, literally you name it. And it's going to be on the longer side, so you're going to be with me for a while. So I hope you're comfy, you got your comfy fuzzy socks on, you've got your coffee, your cocktail, your water, whatever choice you want to drink. I hope you've got something to just stay hydrated because you are going to be with me for a while. And boy, do we have a case to talk about. It is wild. So let's get right to it.
10 to Life with Elise starts right now.
Kelsey Turner was an aspiring model from Jonesboro, Arkansas. Kelsey wanted a more glamorous and upscale life than what she believed anything in Arkansas could offer her. In 2016, 22-year-old Kelsey moved out west to pursue her dreams. She was young and she was determined to make it big and would not let anything get in her way. To the outside world, she was just another 20-something party girl transplanted to California from Arkansas. Kelsey's Instagram and other social media profiles are filled with pictures of her showing off her brand new boob job, posing in bikinis, lingerie, and partying with friends at nightclubs, just living the life. However, on the inside, Kelsey was a single mom to 2 young children, just trying to make ends meet. Kelsey is a naturally beautiful girl, and her efforts in modeling did not go unnoticed. She was featured in Playboy, Maxim, and a few other smaller, similar type magazines. In magazine interviews, she described herself as impulsive and a Russian-American blonde just trying to change the world. She loved thrills and fun and said she was living her life fully aware that it's the only one she had. She also said that she liked meeting men outside of the modeling industry because all of the men she met involved in modeling were complete losers, zeros. In enters Thomas Burchard to the chat. Thomas was a 71-year-old psychiatrist living in Salinas, California. He was originally from Boston but moved to California to attend UCLA. After UCLA, Thomas went to med school and realized that he wanted to specialize in child psychiatry. Thomas performed extremely well academically and landed hospital residencies at some of the most prestigious hospitals in the country. He eventually started his career at the community hospital of the Monterey Peninsula in California. While Thomas didn't have kids of his own, he loved children and truly believed he was making a difference in many young lives. He was a member of the Magic Castle in Los Angeles and loved playing magic tricks on young children. Now get this, his favorite trick was turning a $1 bill into a $100 bill and then seeing the kids' eyes light up. Look, my eyes would light up too, and I'm a full-grown woman, I'm an adult, I'm grown, my eyes would light up too. So any kid that's getting a $1 bill pulled from behind their ear and then bam, it's a $100 bill, I would imagine you would get a pretty nice response to that. And if the kids could guess the name of the person on the bill, as a reward, he would let them keep it. Time to study your presidents, folks. Time to study. Wait, is it all presidents that are on dollar bills, or is it other people? I feel like Ben Franklin wasn't a president, right? Gosh, you guys are going to come for me in the comments right now. I need to go back to history class. But anyways, because of his successful career and financial status, he often helped those in need. Even at 71, he was halfway retired because he loved working so much and felt like the kids needed him, so he didn't want to fully retire. Thomas didn't even need the money, but still kept working. Thomas had a longtime girlfriend, Judy, who he had met in Vegas on a trip with mutual friends in the early 2000s. Judy was 12 years younger than Thomas, and both had been married before. Judy moved with Thomas in California with 3 of her children, where they raised goats, horses, pigs, and other farm animals. Judy said that Thomas hardly ever spent any money on himself, but always spent lavishly on others, and that with his glasses, beard, and smile, he was like a medical Santa Claus. Judy also described Thomas as one of the most generous people in the world, and that he would give the shirt off his back to help someone, and she was not exaggerating. Thomas had a reputation in Monterey for being a damaged woman philanthropist. He helped many single moms who needed help, those on the verge of homelessness, drug addiction, or women involved in soliciting and selling themselves. Thomas wanted to help them turn their lives around. Sometime in 2017, while Kelsey was modeling, she met Thomas. It's unclear exactly how they met, but Kelsey and her mother said that they weren't in a relationship. Kelsey thought that maybe Thomas could help her out financially, though, and she met the exact profile for who Thomas typically helped, a single mom of 2 kids. Judy knew about Kelsey and knew Thomas was helping her out financially. But according to Judy, unlike the other single women that Thomas helped, Kelsey was incredibly demanding of Thomas's constant attention, time, and money. She had really latched onto him and seemed to need more help than any other women, which Judy found odd. Thomas paid for her rent in a condo, which was roughly $3,000 a month, and he paid for this for over a year. Kelsey lived in the condo with her 2 children and her mom, Samantha. Judy said that she estimated Thomas gave Kelsey around $300,000 throughout their friendship. And guys, I'm just saying that loosely because we're going to get to all of that in a second. But that still wasn't enough for Kelsey. She needed more money, which puzzled Judy because it just didn't make sense. Where on earth was this money going? With rent paid for, plus $300,000, what else could she possibly need? And it started to wear on Judy because yes, it was Thomas's money, but it just felt so excessive, like an opportunist. She knew precisely what Kelsey was doing, and she knew that she was a money-hungry leech who was taking advantage of Thomas's generosity. Eventually, Judy told Thomas it was time to cut it off, to stop paying Kelsey's rent and to cut her off altogether. To Judy's surprise, Thomas listened and stopped paying Kelsey's rent, and this pissed Kelsey off. She knew that Judy had to be behind this. Even though Thomas had cut Kelsey off financially, he didn't cut her off entirely, and he was still in contact with her. So Kelsey sent Thomas a text saying, "Judy is on the shit list with me, and if she gets me evicted, I will kill her." Thomas dismissed the text and even minimized Kelsey's behavior in this. He brushed it off, saying that she was young, emotional, whatever. She surely doesn't mean this. She's upset, just making excuses for her. And at this point, I'm not sure if he was just a sugar daddy or if there really was a relationship, or if maybe he just liked the attention, but this was pretty out of control. That's a crazy amount of money to give a random woman or lady friend. I mean, I get that Thomas had plenty of money, but my God, $300,000 on this chick and then she's still demanding more? Yikes. You are an easy mark, my friend. You are like Albie in White Lotus. If you guys haven't watched White Lotus all the way for season 2, you gotta watch it. It's really good, but basically he's the Albie in this. Just, 50 years older. And Kelsey's the Lucia. Anyway, the landlord of the condo ended up evicting Kelsey because, big surprise, she wasn't paying rent. So Thomas swooped in and saved the day yet again. He paid for her to move into a new house in Paradise, Nevada. Paradise is near Las Vegas. Kelsey was going to move in with her roommates and her 4-year-old son. There has been some conflicting information on this, but I think that she didn't have custody of her daughter. One of her roommates was Diana Penna. Diana was a part-time nanny to Kelsey's son and worked at Caesar's Palace and the Coliseum, bartending at night. She didn't know Kelsey well, but was living there rent-free, which I just have to say, why get a roommate if they're not going to pay rent? It doesn't make much sense. Kelsey's other roommate was a guy named Jeremy, and his girlfriend lived there on and off as well. Kelsey had a boyfriend at the time named Greg who also moved in with her. Now, their relationship was unbelievably tumultuous. They had a ton of knockdown, drag-out, just absolute blowout fights. And Greg was eventually arrested for battery and went to jail. But Kelsey rebounded almost immediately and started dating John Kennison, who goes by Logan. It's almost an understatement of how quickly she rebounded with Logan. Greg moved in with Kelsey after Christmas in 2018. And Logan moved in with her in February of 2019, literally like a month and a half later. So back to Thomas and Judy. They went to Las Vegas to attend a medical conference around the same time that Logan moved in February 2019. It's unclear how Kelsey knew that Thomas would be in Vegas, but I'm assuming he probably told her. Now, even though Thomas had cut her off financially months ago, even though he had saved the day for rent, this didn't stop Kelsey from trying to get more money. She allegedly texted Thomas during his trip saying that her boyfriend was now abusing her and that she needed help. She even decided it was time to lay it on thick and just really play the sympathy card and said that she was sick and needed help with her son. Kelsey's plea for help obviously pulled on Thomas's heartstrings, and he flew back to Las Vegas to help Kelsey the following month in March of 2019. During this trip, Thomas actually stayed with Kelsey and was just there to figure out the situation and see what was happening. He also paid for March's rent and rent through June. Now, I just have to say, he was staying with Kelsey, and he also didn't tell Judy about this trip, or that he had already left to go anywhere in general until he was already at Kelsey's house, which is what makes me believe that there was something more happening, if you get what I'm saying. There was some sort of exchange of sorts. So Thomas texted Judy on March 2nd, 2019, and said he just needed to wrap up a few things and he would be heading home the next day. On March 7th, 2019, around 10:50 a.m., a man was driving through a remote area of the desert in Nevada, east of Lake Mead. He was driving with his kids when he noticed a blue Mercedes that was weirdly parked and had a rock thrown through one of its windows. He called the police to tell them about this abandoned car. Officers responded and found the car and quickly found a body in the trunk. The person in the trunk was nearly unrecognizable after being bludgeoned to death. The head was bashed in, and there were bruises, cuts, scrapes, zigzags all across the face, neck, arms, and upper chest, and part of one ear was missing. On March 16th, 9 days after the body was found, police announced that they had identified the person in the car, and it was the body of Dr. Thomas Burchard. When police notified Judy that they had found Thomas, she said she had already filed a missing persons report. She said the last text she received from him on March 2nd was saying that he had to finish up some things and would come home the next day, and that it didn't sound like him at all. After that, Thomas wasn't answering the phone and had missed his flight home. Judy immediately knew something was wrong. She called the police for 3 days in a row, hoping that maybe he was just missing. According to Judy, Thomas was allegedly showing signs of dementia at the time. She says that he had forgotten how to use the TV remote, didn't recognize one of Judy's kids, and got lost in places that he visited all the time. So she didn't know if Thomas maybe got lost or fell victim to somebody preying on him because of how trusting he was. Judy also said that he usually always carried $1,000 in cash in his wallet, along with a notepad that he had for all of his account passwords on it. Life hack, guys, do not ever carry a notepad with your passwords in it. Don't do it. It's not in good taste. It is only going to cause you trouble at some point down the line. So after receiving the news that Thomas was bludgeoned to death and stuffed in the trunk of a car, Judy wanted to fly to Vegas to see him and make sure it was him, because even though she had a bad feeling, she just wanted to see it for herself. The funeral home essentially told her to absolutely not come because they couldn't do any restoration on his face, and he was green and blue. Police at the time were looking for any information to help find the person or persons responsible for Thomas's murder, and they didn't have any suspects yet. With the help of the FBI, police got a break when they found the registered owner of the blue Mercedes. It was registered to a male in Nevada who was completely confused when the police showed up at his door ready to arrest him. He told the police that he had subleased the car to a woman named Kelsey Turner. Police and the FBI immediately set out to find Kelsey, who was now, get this, reportedly pregnant at the time. Kelsey was arrested by the FBI in Stockton, California in 2019, 3 weeks after Thomas was found dead. Kelsey's 4-year-old son was with her when she was arrested and was taken to the Mary Graham Children's Home, a county-run home for children in police or social workers' custody. Las Vegas police made arrangements for Kelsey to be extradited so that they could charge her with murder, but because she was pregnant, this caused a delay in the extradition process. The police also said that they had information leading them to believe that Kelsey and Thomas were in fact in an intimate relationship. Kelsey still denied this, and her lawyer described their relationship by saying, "She said it was more of a case of the doctor having a huge crush on her. Let's put it that way." Yeah, okay, sure.
Judy Earp, his girlfriend of 17 years, was back at their home in California and sensed the doctor was in trouble.
I told him repeatedly that these are not, the kind of people you want to be associating with.
Judy was worried about this woman, 25-year-old Playboy and Maxim model Kelsey Turner. Judy says Kelsey was extorting money from Dr. Burchard.
About $300,000 that I know about, and possibly more.
Dr. Burchard went to Vegas to see Kelsey, calling his girlfriend Judy only after he had arrived, saying he was spending the weekend and would be back on Monday.
I warned him on Saturday when he was there that, maybe you ought not wait till Monday to come home. Maybe you ought to just come home on the next flight.
After missing his flight and not responding to calls and texts, Judy called Las Vegas police. Dr. Burchard's body was found near Lake Mead, about 25 miles outside Vegas.
Kelsey's arrest warrant was pretty damning. We know police identified the registered owner of the blue Mercedes, who told them that he listed it as a sublease on Craigslist and that Kelsey had it in her possession. But the details of what exactly they had against Kelsey were shocking. I have no earthly idea why she didn't think that she would get caught. I know criminals are stupid, but wow, this was like the chef's kiss of stupidity. When the police approached the car, both front windows were down and the doors were unlocked. Officers started the vehicle by pushing the push-start ignition and opened the trunk. The trunk was filled with clothing and bedding. After investigating further, they were overcome by a foul odor. They moved the clothing and bedding and found what appeared to be a human body. On the front passenger seat were several latex gloves and evidence of a small fire. Blood was on the driver's seat headrest and the back seat as well. Once the vehicle was towed to the crime lab, they removed Thomas's body. He was partially clothed, and there was apparent trauma to the head. The crime lab said it was evident that he was struck multiple times in the head with some type of unidentified object. Then when officers went to Kelsey's house, they noticed all of the lights were turned on inside and the blinds were up. Mail was piled up in the mailbox and packages were at the front door. Windows in the backyard were completely open and the front door was unlocked. Officers went inside and didn't find anyone there, but saw a ton of cleaning supplies and a strong odor of ammonia. Once the Mercedes was fully processed, detectives found DNA evidence, bloody clothing, Thomas's vest, and house keys. There was also evidence of an attempt to clean up or cover up what happened. The blood patterns were unclear if Thomas was attacked inside the car or if it started before, but it also suggested that Thomas was removed from the passenger door and then stuffed inside the trunk. Officers came back to Kelsey's house with a search warrant. This time, they recovered several pieces of evidence, including blue and white striped bath towels. Police already removed a matching blue and white bath towel from Kelsey's car. A door upstairs was ripped off its hinges, split in two, with blood on it. Inside that room, there was blood, cleaning supplies, and footprints. There were still circular stains on the floor where you could tell somebody had tried to use a rag or a towel to clean up the blood. Cell phone records suggested that Kelsey was at home between March 1st and March 5th. Then on March 6th, around 5 p.m., her cell phone left the area and never returned. On March 7th, Kelsey completely turned off her cell phone. Thomas's cell phone records suggested that he died sometime between March 3rd and March 6th. As of March 13th, Kelsey's cell phone was still off. She never reported her vehicle stolen and never attempted to call the police at all. So this led police to believe that Kelsey was on the run. Now, I just want to talk about the state in which Thomas was found and how Kelsey's saying they didn't have a romantic, intimate relationship, but obviously somebody paying you $300,000, there's got to be a benefit somewhere. The fact that there was bedding and sheets in there and that he was partially clothed, they also said they don't know if he was murdered in the car or if it took place somewhere else. It's my belief, based on the crime scene, the blood at the house, the towels, the cleanup, that they were probably in the middle of, afternoon delight romp, wherein she took something, striking his head, and that's where the murder began. Very similar to like a Gone Girl type situation. Then he gets into the passenger seat of the car, or she puts him in there, I should say, and then ends up stuffing him into the trunk later. How one person might do that, her size and weight, we will get to in just 1 second, but that's why I believe there definitely was some, P and Vg happening. So about 2 weeks later, on April 13th, a second person was arrested in connection with the murder. People weren't that surprised that there had to be a second person involved because it didn't seem feasible that Kelsey could have put him in the trunk by herself, since Thomas was almost 6 feet tall and weighed about 250 pounds. Diana Penna, Kelsey's roommate, was charged with conspiracy to commit murder and murder with the use of a deadly weapon. Diana's fingerprints were found on the Mercedes, as well as her work ID and prescription bottles. However, the police had another individual they believed to be involved. Police thought that Kelsey, Diana, and Logan, the boyfriend, fled before Kelsey and Diana were arrested. Logan, Kelsey's boyfriend, agreed to speak with detectives, but then he disappeared and he wasn't heard from again. 6 days later, he was found and also charged with conspiracy to commit murder and murder with the use of a deadly weapon. Logan was an ex-convict for felony distribution of controlled substances and was released after serving 6 months in prison. Interestingly, Logan's court-appointed attorney told the media that he hadn't seen anything in the case that could tie him to the crime. During Kelsey's first court appearance, she wore baggy jail clothes, but you can tell that she's pregnant. She doesn't look sorry and frankly looks annoyed to be there. Kelsey's lawyer also told the media that Kelsey categorically denied being involved in any way and that she was completely innocent. I mean, guys, are they serious? Are they serious? Did they read the same arrest warrant that everyone else did? Were they just going to try to pin this whole thing on Diana? Nobody knew what their exact plan was, but it ended almost as fast as it started because Diana took a plea deal. Diana told the judge that she would work with police and prosecutors to build the murder case against her former roommates. Diana maintained from the start that she wasn't involved in the murder, that she wasn't involved in the conspiracy to commit murder. According to Diana's lawyer, the plea she accepted was her way of basically saying that she should have gone to the police sooner. Logan's lawyer was pissed about this and called Diana a snitch. Diana said that Kelsey and Thomas were intimately involved. Yeah, no shit. And that she was there the night Kelsey and Logan killed Thomas. She said that Thomas, Kelsey, and another friend, Katie, picked her up from work at the Coliseum. While they were in the car on the way home, Kelsey was using Thomas's phone for the GPS and went through his text messages, where she found sexual messages and nude pictures between Thomas and her mom. Plot twist here. Kelsey became enraged and started screaming and hitting Thomas. This continued once they got home. After arriving home, a friend of Kelsey's picked up her son to watch him for the night. Kelsey asked Thomas for time to cool off, and Thomas went upstairs to cool off in one of the bedrooms. Diana said Kelsey went up there a couple times, but she would lose her temper right away and then would have to come back downstairs. Diana said Kelsey was screaming and threatening to report him for the text messages, and that he had better pay up. Finally, Thomas got mad and slammed the door and locked it. Once Thomas shut the door, Logan came running to break down the door and had a bat in his hand. Diana said she saw the bat in the air but didn't see it hit Thomas. Then she says that she took the bat from Logan and saw that Thomas had this big red-purple bruise right up above his temple area on his head. At this point, Logan and Kelsey went downstairs and Diana helped Thomas clean up his injuries, and Thomas said he needed to go to the hospital. They got into Kelsey's car where Thomas told Diana that he would tell the hospital that he was mugged so that nobody would get in trouble and that he was afraid Kelsey was going to kill him. But before they could leave for the hospital, Logan and Kelsey said they needed to help clean up before they left. Thomas said no and insisted he needed to go to the hospital. Kelsey became enraged again and started screaming. They got out of the car and Diana went upstairs, but Thomas stayed in the garage and refused to go inside. She could hear Kelsey telling Logan he was a little bitch and needed to knock Thomas out, and that she had seen other people knock people out with no problem, saying it shouldn't be a problem, just do it. Then Diana says when she came back downstairs to tell Kelsey to stop, it was too late. Logan came inside from the garage and his arms were covered in blood. He had a gun that was also covered in blood, and blood spattered all across his face. Diana said that she panicked and began crying and said she didn't know what to do, so she just started cleaning. Kelsey apparently said that her story was going to be that Thomas had left for California with a couple of random guys that she didn't know, but left his phone and bank account information. Later that night, Diana went to stay at her boyfriend's house. A few days later, Kelsey freaked out because the police had tried to come and do a welfare check on Thomas. She called Diana and they booked a night at the Mandalay Bay Hotel for both of them, plus Logan and Kelsey's 4-year-old son. Diana said Logan and Kelsey discussed disposing Thomas's phone, but she didn't know what they ended up doing. So they stayed at Mandalay Bay for one day, and then all of them returned to the house, including the 4-year-old child, all to clean up more. Logan took off with the Mercedes at that point to get rid of it, but Diana didn't know any details. Kelsey also called a cleaning service and told the cleaner that they had a party and that the guys got out of hand. The cleaner told police he thought that the red stains were wine, not blood. Which I just gotta say, as a professional cleaner, wouldn't you know the difference between blood and a glass of Pinot that spills over? Give me a break. After that, Kelsey, her son, and Diana checked into the Rio Hotel, where Logan joined them. Once reports started coming out that Thomas's body was found in the car, Diana said Kelsey and Logan grabbed her and pulled her into a taxi while she was standing in line for the front desk at the Rio, wearing pajama bottoms and tank top. For the next few nights, they moved around between friends' houses and motels before one of Kelsey's friends picked them up and drove them to California. And yes, the 4-year-old little boy was with them throughout all of this. Mother of the Year. Trophy for you, Kelsey. Diana's plea deal meant that she could go out on bond before being sentenced. Kelsey's other roommate, Jeremy, testified about what happened that night. He wasn't at the house when Diana, Katie, Kelsey, and Thomas returned home. He apparently already left after Kelsey started displaying extremely bizarre behavior. Jeremy said that his girlfriend came over to the house and was drunk and chatting with Thomas. Kelsey started screaming at Jeremy and his girlfriend, accusing his girlfriend of trying to take Thomas away from her. Seems pretty jealous for just a platonic friendship. They were freaked out, got a taxi, and left for the night. Jeremy testified that when he returned to the house on March 6th, he couldn't get in because the doors were locked and that he didn't have a garage door opener, which I'm not sure why he didn't have a key since he was living there, but whatever, moving on. While he was outside the house trying to figure out how to get in, police returned to do another welfare check on Thomas. Jeremy didn't know anything and couldn't get inside, so the police left. Jeremy called Logan and met him at the Rio Hotel to get the garage door opener. Once inside, he said several things seemed wrong. The broken door, a strong smell of ammonia, and the cleanliness of the home, which he said was usually pretty dirty. Kelsey blamed the ammonia smell on a cat. She also texted Jeremy's girlfriend, the one that she accused of trying to take Thomas from her, and asked her to replace the broken door so that the landlord wouldn't get mad, and said that she could use Thomas's credit card information to pay for it. Jeremy said that they weren't going to do that, and they were extremely weirded out by Kelsey's drastic change in behavior towards his girlfriend since she was last screaming at her and now she was starting to be nice to her. All of the different versions of events from people who saw what happened, witnessed the behavior, all that, nothing was adding up. So we don't know what really went down and what this really was for. Was the real reason for killing Thomas because she tried to blackmail him for money, and when he refused, she and her boyfriend flew into a murderous rage? And not because she was so upset of the discovery of messages and nude photos with her mom on Thomas's phone? We don't know. She definitely tried to lure Thomas to come and visit her with the lies of currently being abused and being sick and needing help with her son, all of that. So could this have been planned from the get-go? And if she was using him for money, why would she want him dead? With him dead, your ATM stops. Logan and Kelsey were awaiting their trials and held in jail without bond. They were going to be tried in court together, even though they had tried multiple times to sever their cases. During one of their court appearances, the judge got pissed at Logan for flashing a note reading, "Love you, Lil Mama," on a piece of paper toward Kelsey. Finally, in June 2022, Logan changed his plea and planned to plead guilty to second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder.
The boyfriend of a former Playboy model faced sentencing today for the murder of a psychiatrist, a Dr. Thomas Burchard. Kelsey Turner and her boyfriend, John Logan Kennison, were accused of beating Burchard to death with a baseball bat and stuffing his body in the trunk of Turner's vehicle. She supposedly set the whole thing up. And Kennison initially pleaded not guilty, but changed his plea to guilty. Now, he spoke out at his sentencing hearing, apologizing for his involvement in the crime.
Just want to say that to everybody that was involved, that I'm sorry for everything all the pain I caused and everything that they've had to go through the entire time. And I hope after today that they'll get the closure they deserve, or between all parties and everybody has a better understanding. Just want everybody to be able to somewhat move on and get past this in some way.
Thank you, Mr. Kennison.
Now, the court also heard impact statements from Dr. Burchard's fiancé and brother. His fiancée grieved over the loss of her fiancé and the hole that it's left in her life.
I can count on one hand the full nights of sleep I've had since this heinous crime has occurred. Absolute terror and panic now sets in when I can't locate the loved one and or the thought of them not coming home. I've had a difficult time accepting the fact that Tom will never come home. Initially, I would go nearly every evening to Panera, where we would frequently meet for dinner, and then we would run errands to the grocery store or his very favorite place, Costco. I would sit at our favorite table and just wait. I was actually waiting for him. I was actually waiting for him there when the police called me to tell me that they had found his body. I know it was irrational, but I kept hoping. I frequently have dreams that he has come home and that everything has been a mistake. But then I wake up and I realize that the actual nightmare is the waking nightmare and the dream was not a nightmare at all. And that he'll never come back.
The judge then addressed the court and delivered her sentence of Kennison. She basically sentenced him to 18 to 45 years in prison, becoming eligible after 18 years.
So what was Kelsey going to do? Was she going to stick to her not guilty plea? What was happening here? Both of her co-conspirators had either flipped and were helping the prosecution or straight up pled guilty, and her trial was set for November 2022. I'm not really sure that Kelsey was thinking about the fact that she is responsible for taking a man's life or carrying it all while in jail awaiting her fate, or even showing a sliver of remorse. In her court appearances, she would smile. She seemed like she either didn't know what was going on or just didn't care. And I'm gonna go with the latter on that one. She gave birth in jail to a baby girl who she obviously does not have custody of. The father is unknown to the public, but it's not believed to be Thomas's child. Kelsey has always appeared only to be concerned with herself and maintains her innocence. Since being incarcerated, Kelsey has a website where somebody has written for her that, quote, Kelsey Turner, the Playboy Italian supermodel and businesswoman accused of murder, has decided she won't waste any more time and is making some moves in the business world from prison. Does making moves in the business world from prison include continuing to extort men for money? Because she has multiple inmate dating profiles on websites where she says she is currently incarcerated for a murder that she did not commit. Homegirl also recently shot 2 months worth of footage for Love After Lockup. Now, Love After Lockup is a reality show on TLC where people from the outside world date people in prison. If you haven't seen that show before, there are several instances of where the person in the relationship that's on the outside of prison is sometimes in financial ruin because of how much money they are sending their boyfriend or girlfriend in jail. Some of the couples on the show also try to make it work when one of them gets out of prison. It's a crazy show to say the least. Anyways, the footage never aired because TLC was not going to pay Kelsey, and she got mad and refused to have it released. But the person that she was dating and talking to put out this video on YouTube. Kelsey, of course, acted like she had no idea why her part never aired.
In terms of the other inmate, whose name was bleeped out on the show, her name is Kelsey Turner, the one who's accused for murder. Her name is Kelsey Turner. She's a former Playboy and Hustler model, and I believe she was also a stripper at one point. She had a very big social media following. I think it was like over 100K or something on her original Instagram. I'm not sure why they bleeped out her name on the show. She also is unaware of why. We are still in contact. I speak with her agent regularly on social media, as well as her lawyer I've spoken with several times, and her herself I've spoken with several times. She calls every once in a while and we talk. She updates me on her situation, and we have a lot of plans to do a lot of projects together once she gets out, whether that be brand collaboration deals online, meeting in person, stuff like that. So we have a lot of plans in the work. That's all I'll say for now. I can't say too much because there's a couple big projects that I can't talk about. So that's all I'll say for now.
Kelsey also started a clothing company behind bars in 2021, like the fashionista entrepreneur that she is. She started this with her quote-unquote business partner and named it Bad Barbie LLC. Guys, I just can't with this chick. Even though he pled guilty and mustered up a half-assed attempt at apologizing during his sentencing, Logan had an interview in prison where he said, "We're not monsters, we didn't do it," and instead pointed a finger of blame at Diana. He also said that even though Thomas was paying for the apartment, the car, the bills, he was not her sugar daddy. He said, "I think he was just a really good friend. He had a good heart." I'm sorry, Logan, but I don't think anybody buys that. You brutally bludgeoned a 71-year-old man. Maybe you can convince yourself whatever you want, but please don't insult the public anymore by coming forward with your BS like ever again. The fact that Logan is eligible for parole in 18 years is unsettling and asinine in my opinion. I hope he serves his full sentence so that when he comes out, he is a 71-year-old man. Now look, I get it. That math probably doesn't even add up. Like, I don't know the presidents. I can't think math quick off the top of my head, but you guys get what I mean. You get where I'm going with this. He clearly doesn't have any remorse and hasn't shown 1 ounce of accountability for his actions. It's sickening, and my heart just hurts so badly for Judy and all of Thomas's loved ones. So recently, this case came back into the headlines in November when Kelsey's trial was about to begin. but instead she took an Alford plea.
A little bit of breaking news out of Nevada. The trial for former Playboy model Kelsey Turner now off the books. She has pled guilty for her role in the murder of killing renowned psychiatrist Dr. Thomas Burchard back in March of 2019. Sentencing is set for January 10th. She is facing 10 to 25 years in prison for her role in this murder. She entered an Alford plea where basically she says, yeah, I didn't do it, but I realize I'm going down hard, so I'm going to come to an agreement with you.
Kelsey's sentencing will be in January of 2023. Judy says that Kelsey is like Charles Manson to her and hopes that she never gets out of prison. If you remember, Charles Manson never actually physically killed anyone, but he was the ringleader in the conspiracies to commit the murder, where he convinced his followers to do his dirty work like a puppeteer. And honestly, I agree with Judy. I hope she doesn't ever get out either, and I'm a little annoyed that she even got the opportunity to take an Alford plea. I mean, I get it. It just feels super unjust given what we know. So I hope at least the sentencing portion of it is just and harsh. Now, we'll find out what happens with that in literally a month from now, so I'll update you. Stay tuned. Do you think that they were just friends and it was platonic and he was helping her out of the goodness of his heart? Or do you think that this was sexual, that he was a sugar daddy, that she was giving up the goods to get that cash money? And what do you think the real story is behind the murder? Was he texting her mom? Were there nudes? Because if so, that is a whole different, part 2 spinoff of this video. What on earth? Do you think that they just got into a fight and they were jealous? Or do you think that this was planned and she planned to just take all of his money, kill him, get rid of him? She was pissed that he wasn't going to bankroll her life anymore. What's the real root of this murder? Let me know what you guys think. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoyed the case coverage. Please don't forget to quickly just hit that thumbs up button on the video. It's a quick way to show free support for the channel, and as always, subscribe if you haven't done so already so that you'll be notified of new case videos as they drop, and so that you'll be notified of the updates in this case. All right, guys, thanks again, and until the next one, stay safe.